Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Talks with HK. How are you all? I hope you all are fine and doing great in your life. So, I am back with another video for class 11th students. That is Chapter-2 of Business Studies, Forms of Business Organization. But before moving forward, if you have not seen the chapter 1st of Business Studies class 11th, you can go and watch. And I have also given the link in the description box. So you can watch it from there also. Now let's start the chapter. Second chapter, Forms of Business Organization for class 11th. As we all know that business is a separate entity and owner is separate. So, before starting this chapter, you have to understand one important word, that is business enterprise. What are in business enterprise? So, business enterprise is an organization which is engaged in some business activity. Isn't it? Business enterprise is an organization which is engaged in some business activity. Now, another thing, to run a business, every business entity has to adopt certain forms of business organization. Isn't it? So, on the basis of this, business enterprises are classified into three. First is private sector, public sector and joint sector. Now let's discuss all these three in detail. Okay, before moving ahead, you have to keep three words in your mind. Okay, the three words are most important in these three topics, that are owned, controlled and managed. Isn't it? Owned, controlled and managed are the words that you have to keep in mind. Now let's talk about private sector enterprises. So, the business enterprise which are owned, controlled and managed. ठीक है, ये तीनों words. अब कौन है भाई? As private sector, so it is owned by private individuals. So the definition is what? The business enterprises which are owned, controlled and managed by the private individuals are known as private sector enterprises. Isn't it? What are examples? Examples are like Birla Company, Tata Company, Reliance India Limited, etc. I hope private sector is clear to everyone. Now, public sector enterprises. Now, what are public sector enterprises? The business enterprises again which are owned, controlled and managed by the public sector है तो क्या होगा? Government. But हम क्या करेंगे? The business enterprises which are owned, controlled and managed by the central and state government. Isn't it? Are known as public sector enterprises. Owned, controlled and managed by the central and state government. Examples are SAIL, GAIL, LIC. Okay, now the last one is joint sector enterprises. As the name suggests, joint sector. So in this, two or more sectors are joined together to perform or to work, isn't it? So in joint sector enterprises are owned, controlled and managed jointly by the public sector and the private sector. Or we can say the business enterprises which are owned, controlled and managed jointly by the private entrepreneurs and the government. Isn't it? And second thing you have to keep in mind in this topic is that the enterprise, that day-to-day management lies in the hand of private entrepreneurs and the government controls and supervises. ठीक है? सुपरविजन और कंट्रोल का वर्क किसका होता है? गवर्नमेंट का होता है. एंड डे टू डे मैनेजमेंट लाइज इन द हैंड ऑफ private entrepreneurs. I hope joint sector is clear to everyone. Now, examples are Cochin Refineries, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Okay? I hope this much is clear to everyone. If anyone is having any doubt, you can comment down in the comment section. I will be clearing your doubts. Now, let's move forward. Now, forms of private sector enterprises. भाई forms of private sector enterprises बारे में अब हम read करेंगे. ठीक है? Now, why there is need to forms की need क्यों है? तो forms of enterprises are used for the smooth functioning. For the smooth functioning of the business, we have to use these forms. The very first is sole proprietorship. Second is joint Hindu family business. Next is partnership. You are familiar with this, I hope so. We will be discussing afterwards. Now, cooperative society and company. You are also familiar with this word, company. So, let's begin with sole proprietorship. Now, sole proprietorship. First, understand the literal meaning of the word sole and proprietor. So, sole means one or single, and proprietor means owner. So, combinedly, sole proprietorship means single owner or one owner, isn't it? So, again here, the business owned, controlled and managed by the single individual. Keep this thing in mind. Sole proprietorship में is owned, controlled and managed by the single individual is known as sole proprietorship. Now, if we talk about the proper definition, so according to James Stephenson, sole proprietor is a person who carries on the business exclusively by and for himself. As he is a single owner, so carries on the business exclusively by and for himself. He is not only the owner of the capital, but usually the organizer and manager. Okay, he is not only the owner of the capital, he is the organizer and the manager also, and takes all the profits. ठीक है, सारे profits भी वही लेता है and responsibilities of losses, and he also takes all the responsibility for loss, isn't it? So, according to James Stephenson, sole proprietor is a person who carries on business exclusively by and for himself. He is not only the owner of the capital of the undertaking, but is usually the organizer and manager, and take all the profits or responsibilities for loss. Isn't it? I hope this much is clear to everyone. Now, let's move forward. What are features of sole proprietorship? There are certain features of sole proprietorship. Very first is single ownership. As we all know, sole proprietor means single owner, isn't it? So, the sole proprietorship firm is owned by the single individual only, isn't it? Getting my point? Single ownership is the feature. How? As sole proprietor means the single owner, one owner. So, sole proprietorship firm is owned by a single individual. Up next is one-man control. It is also related to the first one, one-man control. How? As there is single owner, single individual is the owner. So, he himself is having all the control in his hand, isn't it? All the control, all the ownership, all the management lies in the hand of one single person. Now, next is lack of business continuity. As one person is the owner, all the responsibilities, all the control lies in one hand. So, death of owner or insolvency of owner will directly affect the business, isn't it? Next, formation and closure. Now, formation and closure. As in sole proprietorship firm, there is no legal formalities required to start or close the firm. Keep this thing in mind. In sole proprietorship firm, you need no legal formalities to start or close the sole proprietorship firm. Isn't it? It is the will and wish of the proprietor whether he want to continue the business or shut down. And you can think about an example of shopkeeper nearby you. Okay, he or she is the best example for sole proprietorship. Okay. Now, individual risk bearing and profit recipient. अब भाई देखो जो shopkeeper है, he is the one who is responsible for all the risk and he is the one who is getting all the profits. So, individual risk bearing and profit recipient. As he is the single owner, so he has to only bear all the risk and he is the one who will be receiving the profits. Now, unlimited liability. Unlimited liability how? He is a single owner. All the liabilities, or he is liable for all the liabilities and for all the debts of the business. In case, what happens? In case business suffers loss, so he have to pay back all the losses, isn't it? He have to sell his assets of the business. And the most important thing, if the assets of the business are not sufficient for meeting the losses or for meeting the business liabilities, then he has to sell his personal property to pay back the liabilities. So, in unlimited liability, what we understand? We understand that only the sole proprietor is a person who is liable for all the liabilities or for all the debts of the business. In case business suffer losses and all the assets of the business are not sufficient to meet the business liability, then the proprietor has to sell his personal property to pay off the liabilities. Getting my point? Now, no separate legal entity. As we have already seen that there is a single owner. So, a sole proprietorship firm has no separate legal entity from its owner. ठीक है, उसके owner से business is not different. As we have seen in unlimited liability point that the business owner has to sell his personal assets also in order to pay back the liabilities. So, there is no separate legal entity. Now, last one is small size. It is understood that sole proprietorship firm is a very small scale business, isn't it? As all the capital is raised by the single owner and the total management control all lies in the one hand, isn't it? So, a single person can arrange limited funds and limited management and controllability. So, it is a small size firm or small size business. I hope this much is clear to everyone. If you are having any doubts, you can comment down in the comment section. I will be clearing it. Now, up next are merits and advantages, isn't it? The very first is easy to form and dissolve. It is very easy to form a sole proprietorship firm as no legal formalities are required, isn't it? It is very easy to form the sole proprietorship firm as no legal formalities are required, isn't it? Now, and dissolve also, if the owner is not able to continue the sole proprietorship firm, he can dissolve it. Second advantage is confidentiality. Confidentiality means that all the secrets of the business are kept very secretly with the owner. As the owner is a single person, he is not expected to share his secrets with the other. He is not expected to share his secrets with the other. And second thing, there is no compulsion that he has to publish the accounts of the firm. So, secrecy is maintained, isn't it? Up next is quick decision. So, this is also very simple that he is a single owner. He does not have to consult with other persons before taking the decisions. So, the time is not wasted in consulting other people, and the time is saved. That is why quick decisions are taken by the sole proprietor. Up next is direct incentive. A direct incentive, how? As there is direct relation or direct contact of the sole proprietor and the customer, isn't it? And second thing, in sole proprietorship firm, there is direct relation between the efforts and the rewards. Means as the proprietor puts the efforts, so as the profit will received. So direct incentive होता है, ठीक है. Next is sense of accomplishment. Sense of accomplishment. Here the personal satisfaction is involved in working. ठीक है. अब कैसे भाई? The sole proprietor is a single owner. He only works for his firm. So if he gets profit or if he gets success, so he receives a self satisfaction also. So the merit is self accomplishment, and due to self satisfaction, confidence also boost up, है ना? Confidence भी boost up होता है sole proprietor का. So I hope this much is clear. These were the merits or the advantages of sole proprietorship firm. As everything in this world has merits and demerits, likewise sole proprietorship firm has its merits and demerits also. Now, the demerits of sole proprietorship firm are limited resources. How? Very simple. I hope so. This point is very much clear to everyone. Limited resources. How the resources are limited? As he is the single owner, so he can raise a limited amount of capital for the business, and in case he borrows from anywhere else, so the credit borrowing is also limited for a single person as compared to group of people. So as the capital resources of capital are limited, so there is limited resources. ठीक है. Up next is limited managerial skill. Limited managerial skill, this is very simple. How? Limited managerial skill means, देखो, he is one person. He has to control all the activities of the business. He has to manage all the activities of the business. He has to take decisions for the business. So he is a one person. And it is not compulsory that he is good in all the skills. ठीक है. Maybe he is good in marketing, but he is not a good manager. So there is limited managerial skill as he is the single owner. Next is limited life of business. Limited life of business we have studied earlier also. As he is the single owner, all the control is in his hand. So the death or the insolvency of the owner will directly affect the business. So limited life of the business. Up next is unlimited liability. This we have already discussed earlier, that unlimited liability. The sole proprietor is liable for all the debts of the business, isn't it? In case the business suffer losses and the businessman has to shut down the business, so he have to pay back all the liabilities. And if in case all the liabilities are not paid by the sale of business assets, the businessman has to sell his personal assets for paying back the liabilities. So this is an disadvantage of unlimited liability, isn't it? Now, up next, let us sum up. Okay. Sole proprietorship means single owner, and it is suitable for the small scale enterprises. We have studied that it is suitable for the small scale enterprises, and it is suitable for the business which requires person attention and limited capital. जिसमें personal attention की need है and limited capital की need है, there sole proprietorship is good, isn't it? I hope sole proprietorship is clear. Its features, merits and demerits I have explained all. I hope this is clear. And students, please listen. This is very important chapter, and it will be helping you in throughout your business studies. or I must say throughout your commerce field. So please understand this chapter very carefully. Now, up next is Hindu undivided family or joint Hindu family, isn't it? Now, what is joint Hindu family business? First, let us see this. The business carried out by a member of Hindu undivided family is known as joint Hindu family business, isn't it? The business carried out by a member of Hindu undivided family is known as joint Hindu family business, and it is not governed by Industrial or Company Act. Joint Hindu family business is not governed by Industrial or Company Act. Rather, it is governed by Hindu Succession Act under Hindu law. I hope these 2 points are clear. Hindu undivided family business is clear, that the business that is carried out by the members of Hindu undivided family is known as joint Hindu family business, and it is governed by Hindu Succession Act. Now, there are 2 basic conditions which are necessary for the existence of joint Hindu family business. The very first is minimum 2 male members must be there in the family. What is the first condition? That minimum 2 male members should be there. And second is existence of some ancestral property. Isn't it? There should be some existence of some ancestral property. Now, ancestral property क्या है? Ancestral property is inherited by the male member of Hindu undivided family, and those are entitled to get share in the profit also, and they are known as co-partners. What are co-partners? We can also say it as members, isn't it? Co-partners or members. So I hope this much is clear. Hindu undivided family business is clear, and the existence conditions are clear to everyone. Okay, let's move forward. Features of Hindu undivided family. These are formation, liability, control, and minor member. So let's first talk about formation. So in formation, basically 3 things are you have to keep in mind. The very first is at least 2 members are required in the family. Second is ancestral property should be there. And the third is they do not need any membership agreement, as their membership is by birth only. Isn't it? Is formation clear? There are 3 things about the members, about the ancestral properties, and about the membership. Now, let's move forward towards liability. But before understanding liability, we have to understand about Karta. So, Karta is the head of the family, isn't it? Karta is the head of the family or the senior most member of the family. Now, what is the work of Karta? The business is managed and controlled by the senior most member of the family known as Karta. Karta is clear? Karta plays a very important role in the joint Hindu family business. Now, let's talk about liability. As Karta controls and Karta is the head of the business, so he has to pay back all the liabilities. He is having unlimited liability, isn't it? And Karta is liable for all the liabilities of the business. And the important thing that in order to pay back the liabilities, if the assets of the business are not sufficient, so he has to sell his personal assets also to pay back the liability. Now, next is control. Control, as we all have studied, that all the control is in hand of the Karta itself. He has the legal rights to enter into the contract with the outsiders. Okay. So, the whole control of the business is in the hand of the Karta. Now, last point, minor members. Minor members. Now, देखो, in Hindu undivided family or joint Hindu family business, a child become member by birth only, isn't it? There is no need of any agreement or membership agreement. The membership is by birth only, isn't it? So these are the features of Hindu undivided family. I hope this much is clear. Let's move forward. Okay. Now we have studied that in joint Hindu family business there must be 2 male members present in the family. This is not fair, na? Why not women? So the amendment was made in Hindu Succession Act for women's, as women's are given equal rights in joint Hindu family business. कब हुआ था भाई ये amendment? On December 2004, isn't it? On December 2004, the amendment was passed and in Hindu Succession Act that women should be given equal rights in the joint Hindu family business. And this bill was passed to remove the discrimination under section 6 of Hindu Succession Act. Isn't it? This act was passed to remove the discrimination and giving the equal rights to the daughters and sons. I hope this much is clear to everyone. Okay, if you're having any doubt, any query, you can comment down in the comment section. I will be clearing your doubts. And if you like this video, please share with your friends and hit the like button. If you find this content helpful, so please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon for more updates. That's all. Thank you.